I want to tell you about my story and how I got started in mortgage. I joined a bank and they put me at the corner of the branch, way in the back. And they basically said, this is your station here, so you figure out now how to get business. If anybody from the bank needs a loan, we'll just send them your way. The bankers have a conversation with people that are coming up to the counter, and they ask them if they're interested in getting a mortgage, and if they say they do, then they basically take them, it's called a cross sale, to the mortgage loan officer, and then the mortgage loan officer tries to get them a loan in which the bank will make a profit. But the truth of the matter is the bankers didn't really know much about mortgage, so it's kind of your job to teach them. Now, some branches are more receptive to wanting to learn. This particular branch, nobody really cared. And to be quite honest, when I first got started, I remember the first thing that went through my mind, gosh, I really wish a year would pass by, because if it would, then I would already know how to originate mortgages, take loan applications, do everything. Most people that get started in mortgage, they immediately try to figure out products and rates and guidelines and a million different things that, to be quite honest, they're really not that important. I mean, they are once you have clients, but you don't have clients yet. So why are you trying to figure it all out? The first thing you really have to do, number one, is you got to focus heavily on marketing, all right? Because without marketing yourself, you're not going to get any business. And the truth of the matter is, I want to talk to you about what kind of marketing you actually should do should you want to get business the first couple months. The best way to get business in the mortgage business is through referral partners. So basically, you talking to real estate agents. So when they have a client, they immediately call you and say, hey, could you help me make sure that they're pre-qualified, so I don't spend my time taking this person all around town without knowing that they could actually qualify for a mortgage. You might say, hey, why would anybody use my services if I really don't know what I'm doing just yet? Well, if you're a loan officer, they don't know what you know. And if you're friendly and you can strike a conversation and build some kind of a friendship with them, more than likely, that's going to put you way ahead of the competition. Trust me. Because if you're thinking, I'm going to be the expert on social media and I'm going to post ads and I'm going to do these things, they're not personal enough, and you don't have a brand yet and nobody knows who you are. So as a beginner, the first thing you have to know is that you're going to have to put yourself out there. To be quite fair, it's not the most comfortable thing in the world, but it's the most necessary thing for you to be able to launch your career. So again, you're thinking about getting involved in mortgage? No problem. Whether you know anything about it or not, it doesn't really matter. The idea is for you to start getting business through the door. There's more than likely somebody who can sit with you and give you a hand and basically tell you, okay, you're taking an application on somebody. This is what, their situation looks like. This is what their income looks like. It's going to play a big factor in what they can afford, obviously. Once you figure out that piece and you figure out how much money they have to put as a down payment, you can start figuring out what kind of a program is most appropriate for them, all right? But the problem is a lot of people get scared and then, they don't feel comfortable, and that's basically the first thing they default to, the guidelines. Now, the guidelines are national guidelines because most of the deals you're going to do as a beginner anyways are going to be standardized deal, like Fannie and Freddie Mac loans. So it doesn't matter where you work because the guidelines nationally are the same. So don't worry about that. Just start worrying about getting business through the door, and not in a generic matter. Like I said, you got to be able to pick up the phone and call people.
Pick up the phone and start dialing.
And the thing is, it's not just about you calling them, because oftentimes, I'd call somebody and we'd have a good conversation. I'd be like, yeah, I totally got their business. But you don't, because the money is really in the follow-up, okay? It's not about talking to somebody once and having a good conversation. You're like, yeah, the deal's closed. They're going to totally refer their business. They're not. Call them in a week. They're going to forget about you. They're not going to even know who you are. So it's very important that when you start, you actually make a list of people that are producing agents in your area. And that's very important. There's so many people in real estate and a lot of them don't actually produce. And so that's kind of a waste of your time. You got to be able to talk to people who are within your geographical area, because that's realistically the people that are going to be sending you business. Number two, if you could actually have a face-to-face with them at least once, that would be amazing. The idea is just for them to think of you whenever something comes up, If they talk to somebody in an open house and they want to know if they're pre-qualified, they should be able to call you and you should be able to go through the motions years with them. So any referral partner is great. If you do end up calling people, that's amazing. Just make sure that you call them more than once, at least once every couple weeks. So at least in the beginning, so they know who you are. And then your goal is to set up a meeting with them. Once you set up a meeting with them and you formally met each other face to face, then just follow up with them once a month and then continue to try to meet more people. That would be my advice to you. Now, my second piece of advice to you, when I started at a bank because I was under the impression that people that wanted money basically wanted a safe haven. They wanted to know that it's coming from a bank. They wanted like a label. But the truth of the matter, they don't really care. They just want money at the cheapest rate possible. So the thing is, with working for a national bank, a lot of times you're limited by the type of product that you can offer. So there's an upside and a downside, and I'll tell you about both of them. The upside is that your rates are typically going to be slightly more competitive. However, you're going to be limited on the amount of products that you're going to be offering. So if you're going to compare your product to, as an example, a broker, then there's basically two sides to the coin in lending. The first side of the coin is, it's called qualified mortgages, which is basically your standard mortgage. You have a W-2, you walk into the bank, they quote you a rate and they run an application on you. But then what happens when you can't qualify conventionally, right? The story changes now. Now you got to show alternative documentation to be able to qualify. What is that? So imagine this, a borrower is self-employed and they make a lot of money because they deposit a lot of money in their business, but they write off all their expenses. You can't qualify them with their taxes. Now, if you work at the bank, typically you don't have those kind of product available to you. Therefore, when you work with a broker, typically they have both prime products and subprime products. So you got to ask yourself, who is your ideal client? I'd like to talk about that for a minute, because if your ideal client is just somebody who is working for a paycheck, right, a W-2, a wage earner, then that's typically the kind of person who's going to walk into the bank. That's going to be the bank customer. But you're in an affluent area like Los Angeles where you have a ton of business owners, that's where I'm at, and not everyone is an employee, then positioning yourself in a way that you could take advantage of that business is tremendous, because you could close high dollar amounts with people who basically don't have a tax return. However, they have a very healthy stream of income coming into their business, and you could still do really well. Another thing I want to talk to you about, on the bank level, you have the jumbo product. Now, I can tell you this, brokers can't compete with the jumbo product of a national bank. And there's a reason for it, because they use the depositor's money. It's a portfolio loan, meaning they don't sell these loans to Fannie and Freddie Mac. So you're no longer competing for that business, except when it's a jumbo loan, the game changes, because now you have to average everything over 2 years. And you can no longer use 50% of the borrower's income. You can only use 43% of the borrower's income. So the bank looks for the best borrower to be able to offer them their own money to give them a more lucrative loan, but in turn, they make it slightly more difficult to qualify. Better credit, higher income, a 2-year average. So the rules change. You got to ask yourself, is that your ideal customer? Is that your ideal borrower? Because something that you should keep in mind, as a loan officer, the higher the loan amount, the higher your commission. But when you work at the bank, at least from my experience, the amount of commission you receive is also a lot less than if you work at a broker shop. So there's a lot of pros and there's a lot of cons, and you kind of gotta work through them. If you're somebody who's heavy on the label and you want to be represented by like a brand name bank, then you gotta know that you'll be able to take advantage of jumbo product, but you're gonna be limited on other products that you're going to be able to offer, and more than likely your compensation is going to be less than if you work at a broker shop. Now, there is another plus, that if you do work at a bank, oftentimes you can originate in a lot more states than you would working at a broker shop, because broker shops do actually have to get qualified to get a license in every single state, whereas banks often, if they're national banks, do have a license throughout the country. Just something to keep in mind, all right? Make sure that whatever company you join has a good mentor program, because you do need somebody, at least in the beginning, to help you get up and running. And I know a lot of real estate offices will team you up with a senior agent, probably for the first 3 deals or so, and then you guys will actually split your commission with the senior agent, but it does help you get from point A the point to be a lot quicker. If you have any questions for me, please drop them in the comments below. Let me know. I'll be happy to answer them. I try to give you a general overview and put myself in your shoes as to the time that I got started. I can tell you this, I did not know anything. I wouldn't even know what to tell somebody who came up to me to try to get pre-qualified, and that was scary. I mean, I don't feel like I got any support. So I really had to sit there and learn everything. If you are thinking about getting started in the mortgage industry, let me know, because Loanbrook is in fact hiring new loan officers, so that's great. And as a matter of fact, I do have one trick up my sleeve, which is if I got started in the mortgage business today, especially given where the market is, there's two things that I would consider. Number one, I would consider the fact that you should look at getting involved in the mortgage business as a career, because you're going to go through a lot of cycles. Some will be amazing, some will be down, like kind of like the one we're in right now. You know, we are in February 2024 and the market is slower. However, when you zoom out and you look at how things have been over the past 5 or 10 years, it's been a very lucrative business to be in. So I would think that if you are trying to get involved in this, make sure that you're somebody who's looking at it, you know, in terms of a career long-term objective, because there's so much to learn. And then the other thing that I want to share with you is that if I was to get started today, I would highly consider if I want to get started as a residential loan officer or a commercial loan officer. And I'll tell you why. Because as a commercial loan officer, one who originates both private money and commercial loans, you actually don't need an NMLS license, and you can originate around the country. Now, there's a handful of states that do need a license, but I mean, the options are a lot greater and the loan amounts are a lot bigger, and the opportunity to make larger commissions are a lot greater. And you might be asking yourself, where exactly would I learn how to do that? Well, I'll tell you this. I'm actually composing right now a course which is called the Part-Time Commercial Lender Academy, and you can find the information actually in the description below. If you're interested, click on it, check it out. It's something that I'm putting together right now. It will be available soon. If that's something that sparks your interest, it could actually take you with a basic just real estate license, get you up and running in mortgage literally within weeks. So that's definitely something to check out. If you're interested in learning more, drop me a comment, let me know. As always, I appreciate you guys, and thank you for watching this. And if you have any questions, just ask me, let me know. I'm an open book. I'd love to help you out. But aside from that, if you enjoy the video, don't forget, hit the like button. If you enjoy this kind of information, then please subscribe to my channel. Otherwise, thank you again for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video.